All right, everybody. Happy Friday to you and want to wish you a wonderful weekend coming up. Just finished the first full week of trading in February, and I've got some interesting things to share. I think we're going to see that we're just kind of right at that point of decision for the markets, whether we're going to see a fresh selling leg down or whether we're going to be able to resume um, I think what could be a very surprising bullish run. The sentiment, by and large, whether you look at institutional sentiment or even your Twitter feed, I think is bearish. Um, I think the bounce today following the jobs report, I think was a good sign, and that happened in the face of interest rates still rising. Now it's possible that could have been just some end of week window dressing, and we'll see the market response to the anticipated rate hikes, most likely in March. But it's also possible that we could have just seen acceptance today. So the fact that ARKK names were up really nicely, that small caps recovered, gives me some optimism that we could be looking at something that could actually sustain to the bullish side through the end of this quarter. Okay, now I had indicated in our members chat that I really wanted to see QQQ on the weekly close above this 50-week SMA, and it didn't do that. We pulled back at the close, and we're even pulling back here after hours. And the candle is a little bit suspect on the week. You know, some might say that that looks like a shooting star candle. Obviously, that's going to require confirmation of that next week. But we're up nearly 2% on the week. Thursday was obviously a nasty day down. Today recovered just a little bit. And I don't think that's entirely here a bearish look. If we look into the SPX weekly, we're going to see the attempt early this week to stab through the moving average cluster. And that should not be surprising that that didn't hold. You know, we just have come through a month of really harsh selling. And to be able to attack that and close above it on the first stab, I think is a little bit unrealistic. It's comfortably back within this bull channel. Obviously, with the strengths from industrials and financials, the S&P is in a little bit better technical shape. But I still see the possibility that we could get one last run up here during 2022. Okay, let's dive into some other time frames here. Let's get into the daily on the Qs. And we're going to see 2 days in a row, Thursday, Friday, that crucial pivot in my mind, that 351, 352 pivot, it held. I want to offer the possibility here that we have a surprising 1-2 count to the upside. Okay, I personally think that would be the most surprising count, is that we just rip the next 2 weeks to the upside. Would have loved to have seen the Qs close back above the 8 EMA. But I think it's also there kind of potentially set up for kind of popping up through that and testing again that 370 pivot. Okay, so that's still crucial resistance to the upside, and you've got your 351, 352 support to the downside. Now, for the bearish counts, it is absolutely possible that the spiking move up that occurred Monday, Tuesday is just a B wave or an X wave. I'm not going to worry about the labeling there. You could say that this is not a 5 wave down, that it's 3 and 3 back up. And that is absolutely valid. If that count is correct, then I think we see a massive rejection on Monday. That's what's going to, I think, require the confirmation there for the bearish case. In the S&P did actually close above the 8 EMA, and it's got kind of a spinning top, doji looking candle, and that's, I think, also just showing you the overall indecisiveness of where we're at. It also potentially has a 1-2 count. So that would be this blue fib that today it held above the 200 SMA at the 0.382 fib, and we could see a big surprising move up next week. So that's the bullish optimism there. Obviously, you see a very similar count for the bear case. And we kind of drilled down here into the small time frames. And I had shared this chart just right at the end of trading on Friday. So the S&P counts validly as 1, 2, 3, 4. Had a nice question in the members chat today about wave 4 trading into the high of wave 1. Now that is allowed to happen within the first 5 wave progressive move up. So that actually also happened on DIA that we'll see in a little bit, and obviously on QQQ. So it does have a 3-wave look right now, the ABC, and that's what bears get excited about. Is bears are saying that this move is impulsive to the downside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can certainly see that, but it also counts as an ABC, as does Qs. I personally think the move up off the lows looks impulsive. So I see on a small time frame, and it'll jump out even more on the 5-minute chart, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up into a 2 low. So I also would not be surprised on Monday if we just rip right off the open. So a 1, 2 into a big 3 on the Qs. It pulled back into this. Now I put this in blue because on Qs it would have to be a subdivision within this 3, which could potentially be very, very bullish. And it likely means that I would need to extend this fib target to allow a 1, 2 up to a bigger subdividing move within this 3. And then that would probably at some point middle of the week target this gap here, 376 to 380. Okay, now also possible that we could just see it move lower. Here we've got some pretty crucial short-term support at about 355, 356. That's also this fib support. And then obviously losing Thursday and Friday's low, which right in there again, I talked about that pivot. If we tumble through it, back test it, that's your short entry. And I don't have that marked up here, but the bears are saying that this is a 1 with an ABC up to a 2, and we just started the tumbling move to a 3. Okay, so we have to be flexible and we have to be open-minded. But I'm not yet willing to flesh that out here on the charts until we see how futures open and how we look at things pre-market on Monday. And then if we do, then obviously we're going to have to take what the market gives us. Let me go ahead and show you small caps and ARKK that I talked about. Okay, so let's get into the daily here on IWM. Kind of a similar candle to SPX, got a little bit of a spinning top, a little bit bigger body, so it's not really a great doji. It pulled right back into this 0.618 off the open, and then we had a little bit of a move up. So I'm optimistic this could be a surprising 1-2 start for small caps. I think even if it's not the 1, 2, 3, 4 bullish count, I think it seems likely that this X wave potential in red still plays out as an ABC up. So that still has me thinking that we're going to see some upside early in the week. On the small time frame, as I had shared in the members chat, I see 5 waves up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is a really good sign for bulls. I think we pulled in 1, 2. If we get a little bit of flat to opening weakness Monday, I will pounce on this. I love to play IWM options or TNA, the 3X bull levered fund ETF, because it's just cheaper. And the premiums are cheaper, the spreads are tight. And if this support holds here above the 0.618 into Monday, I'm going to take that opportunity to see if we can get a recovery, at least a bounce here into that X-wave fib, and hopefully for the bullish case a little bit more. Okay, let's take a look at ARKK, and we can even dig this into the weekly here. So on the weekly, up nearly 6%. Really nice weekly move. Now, it tried to move up through the 200-week SMA, couldn't hold it on the close. Okay, so that's obviously some significant resistance. We start drilling down into other time frames, and it did actually close above the 8 EMA. And that 8 EMA, it's a little bit hard to see here, but it is starting to hook up. You can see that 21 EMA also starting to curve, and that's what starts to happen when you start to get some recovery. So we had divergence here that I talked about in last week's video off of the RSI 9. It moved up through some resistance on that RSI. I think we got a back test, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see another testing move here from growth. And that would be really encouraging for so many of the stocks that we like to play that that were so successful in 2020, 2021, at least in the early part of 2021, that I'll talk about here in a bit. On the small time frame, I think we could be in kind of the nested look with a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 to a smaller 1, 2. You'd kind of like to see this top hold here. You'd like to see 72 hold. For sure, we need to see Friday's low hold. Okay, so we still got a lot left to decipher, but optimistic that we could get some resolution here in the way that we're looking. Okay, let's get into some individual names. And I want to start with Apple because Apple's count is what's matching with the 1, 2, 3, 4 count in the S&P. Let me delete this path to make it a little more clear. And notice that Apple here, it just pulled back today right into its moving average cluster. And that moving average cluster is still bullishly aligned and into the small time frame here on Apple. This is one of the reasons why I like that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 count, is it's very clearly defined. So I think on the close today, we could have got a small 1, 2, and we see that move up into next week. Let's keep looking through some other names here. We're not going to go through a ton of them. We want to get you a pretty good sampling into Tesla. Now, Tesla was a fantastic day trade today. I called out the 0.618 in the members chat, also gave you an alert for the breaking of the first hourly range. It moved right up into where I felt resistance was going to be, and that was right in that 937 to 944 range. Would have been a really nice place to exit on a day trade. But I also think for swinging Tesla, it is an account that I think is worth taking a chance on. And I think a couple members did. So I see this as a nested 1, 2, 1, 2, because today's opening low held Thursday's low. And I think this is very nested. So a 1, 2, possibly into another 1, 2. And this is the kind of location here, right on this short-term volume shelf, kind of in between resistance where we could get a surprising gap up. So I personally like the potential setup here in Tesla. Really want to see it hold this 913 fib and pivot area to give it a chance. If it pulls back into that, I've got an alert set here on Monday that I'm going to be alerted to maybe a pullback buy, a lot like what we saw right here today on Friday. Okay, another one that I really like is Microsoft. And I took Microsoft here on the opening low. Its weekly is just kind of sandwiched right between support and resistance. So a little bit tenuous as to whether this is like that X or B wave bounce and then we get a big fall. But on the daily, you're going to notice a close here above the 8 EMA, just like SPX just like ARKK. And I think a potentially very surprising 1-2 move up. Notice that RSI hooking up, the daily MACD is already crossed. It's already tested. And again, I could be looking at this with kind of bold tinted glasses, but I think the possibility here that we could get a surprising move, I at least want to be open to it. And I did decide to swing a small size position of Microsoft into the weekend. So I'd been talking about in the members chat, I've sized everything down while big names and the averages are beneath these MA clusters to about 1/3 of my normal size. I'm comfortable with that because I know it's a manageable position, and the loss wouldn't kill me if we do see something surprising to the bear side on Monday. Okay, so Google. So Google, obviously, with a big week, kind of a big here tailing wick after it pulled back a little bit. But I've just got Google kind of working within a wave 4, right underneath resistance. So a little bit more clear to show that on the small time frame. And I didn't talk much about this, but in the members chat, I think a 1, 2, 3, 4, right to the 0.5 fib. We got a 1-2 up. I think we're working 1, 2, 3, 4 to a smaller degree 2. As long as today's low holds, Google could be a really good entry early in the week to try to get that run into some of those bigger targets in the 3000s. Okay, let's also make sure that we take a look at some growth names here. And then I do want to get into metals and miners. I think there's interesting stuff there. Let's take a look at Nvidia. So Nvidia, I didn't play this very well this week. I didn't catch correctly this move up on AMD earnings. Did know to avoid it on this pullback. I'm not looking to get involved until we can break this diagonal. Okay, so I've got an alert set just above that diagonal if we do happen to pop above it. And if I path this up here for you, what I would be looking for is a move up into that alert and a back test, and that's the entry that I want to get to try to move into this wave 5 target. And again, had a good question in the members chat. Can this 4 trade into this 1? The answer is yes, because it's within that first degree up. Okay, that wave 1 up off the lows, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, obviously, if Nvidia doesn't beat Tuesday's high at this high was almost at 259, then this is just an ABC, and then we have an ongoing correction where this primary wave isn't done. But I kind of like where it's at. So just right above the 80 MA, right beneath the 21, and maybe we get that 1, 2, 3, 4, the punch up to a 1. And that actually matches pretty well here with the index counts. Let's also get into shop. So the shop move, you could have played it in 2 ways today. I set the trigger right on this break of this diagonal, and you could have taken that for a day trade right up into resistance. And I called that out, that 880 to 890 was going to be significant resistance. And I know that we had a member or two take this wave 2 pullback, and I really like this setup. So look at shop. If we've got a 1, 2, 1, 2, now we're subdividing 1, 2, 1, 2. I am going to be very tempted on shop on Monday. If we see any more pullback here towards this 865, okay, now that's not anything significant really on the daily. It's just the fibs on the small time frame to try to get that 3 of 3 run into early next week. So I would have shop high on your list. It is expensive to play. You do have to have some pockets to be able to do it. And if it goes against you, you really have to snap out of it quickly. But above 865, I really like it here. Want to show you TWLO and DWAC too here on the same tab. So I had entered DWAC on Thursday, and I see this just as coil right here on the short-term volume. It's right on this 84-85 pivot. And you look at the technicals on DWAC, sorry, that's the weekly, but the weekly's in great shape. There are not many stocks, unless you're looking in the energy sector, oil and coal, that have this stacked and 45 upward MA alignment. And I see that, and this is a name I want to be in. So the RSI has room to run. It's not even above 70. It's within a 3 of 3 count. This to me was also worth swinging. And if we can get the general market to cooperate next week, I really think we can see DWAC towards $100. So optimistic there, maybe a little bit position biased, but it's going to take a lot to shake me out of that. Got February 11, $83 calls there on DWAC. Okay, I had tweeted, or sorry, not tweeted, but had shared this to the member chat and wish I would have taken TWLO here on a day trade. So off a 1-2, a 1-2 to the 0.618, and that would have been a phenomenal day trade right into moving average resistance here that's also beginning to hook up. And this is one of the reasons why I think there's some traction in growth stocks. This looks almost exactly like ARKK. So we got to move that 80 EMA hooking up. The rate of decrease on that 21 EMA is slowing as we get some upward price movement into its calculation. And for TWLO, did it move in 1, 2, 3, 4? Is 3 done? And we get a pop up? It's certainly one I'm not in right now, but definitely going to be watching closely. Okay, want to finish with our metals miners and some crypto here. And this is probably going to cut against the grain. Don't know if we have a strong contingent among our membership in the metals or miners sectors, but I just want to point out that GLD here, I think is just fueling right on this massive weekly volume shelf on the close, just right on its weekly EMA cluster. And I've got it in the kind of count, if I show you the daily, that could be explosive. So if we get this daily MA bust, it's got to get above this resistance. It's failed 1, 2, 3, 4 times. If it can get above, hold for consecutive days, I really think we could see a big run here in metals. Okay, so speculative, yes, but if you get into some of the mining parts of this, if we look at the setup on, it's better on GDXJ. So a 1, 2, 1, 2 small time frame setup. So 1, 2, 1, 2, and I think even late Friday, another 1, 2. So I think for considering a leverage play here, maybe JNUG or NUGT, even some February or March GDX or GDXJ calls, I'm optimistic we could see something surprising. And I had shared this in our crypto and metals chat. This name, AG, now it could be just playing me here for a fool, but I see, look how nested this is. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So I got in here on AG, middle of the day. I'm in February, 950 calls. They're very cheap. This is the possibility. I'm going to take this chance when I see a name within a sector, it's kind of unloved. Sentiment is certainly negative, but that kind of setup to me, I'm going to take a chance on. So we'll see how that plays out early in the week. Certainly want to see the low on Thursday hold. So there's my stop. If this low breaks here at 956, I'll be out, take the small loss, look to move on. But I really, really like the potential setup for just a big pop early in the week. Okay, we'll finish here with Bitcoin. And if I take you out to the daily first, just look at that massive daily bar. So this ignited in the morning, cut right through the 8, the 21, and this pivot resistance at about 39.6. Now, the bears would say that from a technical perspective, it's done everything that it needs to satisfy this B wave. And that is true. That is true, that we could just see a tumbling move. And that count is important here because that absolutely corresponds to exactly what we're seeing with the alternate bear counts across the board in SPX, especially in QQQ. So have to leave that in there. But like SPX and QQQ on the bullish count, what if we've got a 1-2-1-2 and we got an impulsive 3, a little bit of cooling to a 4. Now it has to break 43 and consolidate here above this diagonal and then keep moving. So that could be a extremely tall task, but let's see what happens into this weekend. That resistance at 43 is massive. It's diagonal and it's downsloping MA, but just want to put that possibility out there. If we see something surprising in risk on over the weekend into Monday, that the potential count is there here in Bitcoin. Okay, so that's it for the weekend video. Hopefully some great stuff there for you. Hopefully you're enjoying the service. I'm really having fun interacting in the members chat, sharing ideas. Certainly the level of focus and accountability and consistency on my end is a big upside of doing this for you. And I think we've had some success. I think there have been very actionable plays, and I think I've got a pretty good feel for where we could go. So optimistic that we're just going to keep moving forward with success here in February. And as always, we'll keep you on the right side of the waves. We want to be flexible, open-minded, but we want to certainly have in mind the idea that we don't want to be paralyzed by analysis and have certainly something actionable in mind. So just would leave here with that idea for SPX, the possibility here of 1 pulling into 2, early weakness Monday above Friday's lows, I think is viable. And then let's see if we can get that count moving up. So have a wonderful weekend. Don't hesitate to ask, send me a message, email, or send it through our Discord. I'll be kind of checking that, get the alerts on and off throughout the weekend, and be excited to see what we get Sunday into Monday.